How's it? I'm out here at the beachfront here in Cape Town, and this is called Millie Point, this area. There's not a lot of information about any Hanimex lens per se. I mean, this is a 135mm F2.8 M42 mount. This particular one is was made in Japan. A little bit that I was able to find out about it is that it could have been the Sun company. Various of these producers in Japan made lenses at some point for Hanimex. Very difficult to date, but design and general feel suggest 1960s, maybe early 70s. It has the name Hanimex Tele lens. What is interesting about this lens, and I've seen one or two in the past, is that it has a diaphragm right in the front of the lens, which is quite unusual. Normally it's at the back. In this case it's at the front, and you have two dials. You have a clicked, and it goes from f2.8 to f16, and then you have a declicked dial. What's interesting about the declicked aperture dial is that whatever the clicked dial in the front is set on, if it's set on f4, then this declicked dial is limited to only close down only to f4. So it limits how far you can close down. So if I've got it at f16, I have the whole range of f2.8 to f16. But if I bring it all the way down to f4, I can only dial down between f2 and f4 or f2.8. Now, what I do like about this is great for video. So here it's the beauty of shooting with a stepless ring like this. So as I'm speaking, you can see it's getting brighter and brighter and brighter because of clouds and whatnot. And if I see it's going a little bit darker or lighter, I can just gently turn the aperture ring, and that way we get a good exposure. That's about a 190 degree focus throw, which is quite a lot. Just in terms of this specimen that I'm using, it doesn't have scratches whatsoever or fungus. It's in fairly good nick. The filter thread is a little bit damaged, but optically I see a dust spot or two, so it shouldn't really influence the performance of this lens. However, I don't know if this lens took knocks. I mean, obviously the filter is damaged, so maybe it fell. That could influence the lens alignment, the glass alignment inside. So one always has to bear this in mind with old cameras. I'll use it on an R6, and I'll be shooting mainly 4K C-Log and maybe a little bit of slow-mo, which will be in full HD. Anyways, let's have a look at the Hanimex. I'm gonna drive back home, and as I drive I might see something that tickles my fancy, and I'll see if I can take a picture of that. Cheers. Okay, so it's a building against clouds and skies, like architectural detail. Not necessarily my favorite type of thing to shoot, but I've noticed the street photographer guys seem to dig it. So maybe I'll be a cool kid if I shoot stuff like this. Yeah, we'll see. So we have the millipoint lighthouse, but long lens is the problem that I can only get a detail of it at the angle that I'm able to access while I'm driving and in the car and parking, etc. But hey. So here we have the images that we took today. They are all as they come from the camera. So there's no adjustment except for the exposure, because that is a function of the photographer and not of the lens. And so I've just equalized it all exposure wise. You'll see I use a color temperature of size 5500, more or less daylight. And you will see that the chromatic aberration and profile corrections that I have taken off, so that if there are aberrations we will be able to see them in this raw footage. I must say it was the worst time of the day to go and shoot. Now let's see. Now the focus is not sharp. When, like I cautioned, I said that focusing can be challenging, so I have to give the lens the benefit of the doubt and assume that maybe my focus was a little bit off. Looks like I back focused a little bit, but even there it is not 100% sharp. Okay, well, that's one image that is fairly sharp, but again you have that aberrational look to things, but it is sharper. But it's not a clean sharpness, if you know what I mean. This is close. This is about 1.8 meters away, and I think this is very good sharpness. And a 2,000th of a second, so definitely no camera shake to be had. Again, at 100%, let's get there we go, 100.9. Again, it's not brilliant, but it does feel sharper. Even if I missed sharpness there on that edge, it should pick up on other parts of the image that falls into the sharp focus plane, yet nothing is in fact sharp. And again, shooting at 2,000th of a second, it is not sharp. This is at f2.8. You definitely get purple fringing in the specular highlights. That is absolutely tack sharp. So it's interesting, at infinity, the right lighting, it can produce an image that's very sharp. It's slightly low contrast, but that's not a problem. In fact, if you look at the histogram, you can see that we've got information straight through the histogram. So this is a very, very editable raw image. The bokeh is creamy, nice and soft. It's actually not edgy and bandy. It's actually a very nice bokeh, I must say. Oh, this is good. To the edges, you can definitely see these slight aberrations, especially on the left-hand side. Doesn't like strong highlights much. It definitely seems to be a lens that performs well in the closer to mid-ranges, but you want to avoid shooting at infinity or where you have a lot of little details. It doesn't carry details that well. And so that concludes our little experiment with a Hanimex Tele lens, like it's described on the on the front, the 135mm F2.8. It is probably not the best 135 you'll find in the vintage market. It's certainly not the most expensive, but as a quirk lens, as a vibe lens, you know how I feel about those. You know, having one of these around might just be what you need in that interview or a music video, or it's maybe just an aesthetic that you like. I mean, one has to bear in mind this is an old lens. You might get one that's exactly the same but in better condition and worse condition and get a different result from it. Would I go and spend big money on it? No, it is. I think the price point is justified. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, you are a superstar, and please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Press the like button and then check out the affiliate links below, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.